mine said thanks for listening. I have this.
Okay. We are continuing on with The Mystery of History, Volume 1. Lesson 3, Jubal and Tubal-Cain. Gwynnie, you need to be quiet while I read. Ever, please come in here. Listen close. Today we will learn about Jubal and Tubal-Cain, two guys worth remembering in history, although you may have never heard of them before. In fact, their names may sound kind of funny to you. Jubal and Tubal-Cain, who lived just 7 generations after Adam, are important because they help show us the intelligence of early man. Why does that matter? It matters because Christians believe from divine scripture that man was created by a brilliant and personable God. Most Christians don't believe that man somehow evolved from a lower form of mammal. If we did, then early man would probably not have been smarter than the animals. Though Jubal and Tubal-Cain, we see otherwise, through Jubal and Tubal-Cain. In Genesis 4:21, we learn that Jubal was the father of all those who play the harp and flute. This means that he was a musician, and that others are playing music too. Think about what you already know about music. Is it easy to learn music, to make instruments, or to teach others how to do those things? Is that easy?
Yeah, I'm learning how to do it.
Yeah, but you have to learn, right? It's not something you just knew how to do, right?
Yeah.
If you ever had music lessons, you know that the skill of music can be very difficult. But this is exactly what the book of Genesis... Guinevere, that's too loud. But this is exactly what the book of Genesis tells us Jubal was doing. As for Tubal-Cain, Genesis 4:22 says that he was an instructor of every craftsman in bronze and iron. So Tubal-Cain was a bronzer and an iron maker who excelled well enough to teach others his trade. Gwynnie, that is too loud. Consider for a moment the making of bronze or iron. Iron is formed by cooking of iron ore, deposits of limestones and coke, not the popular form of soft drink, of course. The coke material comes from heating coal without the use of air. All to say, iron making is a very complicated and dangerous process. Yet the Bible tells us... Why is it dangerous? Because it involves...
I want you to be at the map.
No. It involves heating things to a certain temperature. And I think because it's without air, maybe it can have an explosion. I'm not sure. We'd have to ask Daddy. He knows more about that. Yet the Bible tells us that Tubal-Cain not only knew... Guinevere, that's fine. You need to be quiet, please. Don't touch it. Yet the Bible tells us that Tubal-Cain not only knew the craft of bronze and iron, but that he also taught the skills to others. Isn't it neat that God gave us a little insight to the ingenuity of early man? Edward, please stop messing with the spider.
Why?
Because I asked you to.
Does it have sharp claws?
No, you just need to say yes, Mom, and listen.
Yes, Mom.
The Bible clearly mentioned it in just these few verses, which demonstrates how important it is to know the Bible. Though some men and women may have lived simple lives or lives in caves for shelter, it is highly unlikely that all people were cavemen, as some would portray them. In addition to the mention of Jubal and Tubal-Cain, the Bible tells us about the formation of early cities with names such as Babel or Babylon, Nineveh, Erech, Akkad, and Caleb. The existence of cities indicate that early man was fairly civilized and organized. Genesis 10:2 states that Caleb was a principal city, which meant it was probably more elaborate than the others. Remember this. Jubal and Tubal-Cain were only a few generations from Adam and were already masters and teachers of difficult skill.
I'm a master, but you're not, because masters are boys.
Okay, but this is a different form of the word master. This means to be very, very good at what you're doing. So if someone is a master at music, they can be either a male or a female and to be top of the line, the best musician ever. Henry, shh. Remember this.
You cannot be a guy.
No, I can't be a guy, but Mr. is the word you're thinking of. Jubal and Tubal-Cain were only a few generations from Adam and were already masters and teachers of difficult skill. These inventions and the rise of cities would certainly have required high thinking and planning abilities. I find that if is something to think about. Okay. So that is lesson 3, Jubal and Tubal-Cain. If you wanted, we could make memory cards so that we can remember what we went over, which we will do probably tomorrow or when I get home today. Okay? But
Thanks for listening.
okay, so who did we read about today? Jubal. And what is he good for? Music. Jubal, like jubilee. Jubilation. So Jubal was good for music. Guinevere, I would like you to listen and stop running your mouth. Thank you. And who was the other person? Tubal-Cain? And what was he good for?
I don't know.
He was, go ahead.
He was good for a master.
He was a master at making bronze.
The
Like swords, and because he worked with iron too. He was really good at that sort of thing. Winry! Edward, help your sister. Never mind, she got her hands free. All right. Can you say thanks for listening?
I said it.
Oh, okay. Can you say goodbye?
Thanks for listening.
Say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Quinny, say goodbye.